My name is Robert, and I never thought my retirement years would turn into a battlefield between my family and me. I worked for over 40 years in construction, building homes for hundreds of families. I always dreamed of the day I could finally rest in my own house, surrounded by peace. But things didn't go the way I expected. A few months ago, my son Michael made a shocking decision. He sold the house where he lived with his wife, Anna, and their two kids. The house had been in their name for only 5 years, but they sold it for a massive amount, almost $1 million. I thought maybe they were planning to buy another home, something bigger or closer to their work, but then I learned the truth. Michael gave his wife $700,000 just to spend however she wanted. I was stunned. I asked him, "Why would you do that? Shouldn't you save it for the kids' future?" But Anna just smiled and said, "Don't worry, Robert, we'll be fine." Within a few weeks, they had burned through a shocking amount of money. Luxury vacations, expensive clothes, jewelry, even a brand new car. And then came the day that completely changed my life. Michael and Anna showed up at my doorstep, suitcases in hand, saying, "Dad, we're going to live here for a while. You've got plenty of space." I froze. This was my home, the place I had built with my own hands. I had no intention of turning it into their safety net after they had wasted nearly $1 million. I looked my son in the eyes and said firmly, "No, you can't just move in here. This is my house, and I want my peace." That's when Anna snapped. Her face twisted in anger, and before I could react, she slapped me hard across the face. My own daughter-in-law, hitting me. I stood there in silence, my cheek burning, my heart racing. That same day, I picked up the phone and called my lawyer. If my son and his wife thought they could take advantage of me, they were about to learn they were very wrong. When the court summons finally reached them, Anna's confident smile disappeared. For the first time, she looked scared. And I knew this was just the beginning. When the court summons arrived, Anna's arrogance quickly turned into panic. She stormed into my house with Michael trailing behind her, shouting, "How dare you call a lawyer on your own family? Do you know what people will think of us?" I stayed calm. For years, I had been the one solving everyone's problems, always putting family above everything, but this time I wasn't going to let them walk all over me. "Anna," I said firmly, "you hit me in my own home. You spent money like it grows on trees, and now you expect me to hand over my life, my house, and my peace? No, not this time." Michael looked torn. I could see guilt in his eyes, but he didn't say a word. Anna, on the other hand, kept pushing. She screamed that I was selfish, that I was abandoning my grandchildren. But I knew this wasn't about the kids. It was about control and money. My lawyer explained that I had every right to protect myself and my property. He even advised me to file for a restraining order if Anna continued her behavior. I never thought it would come to this with my own family. But after that slap, I knew I had to stand strong. A week later, the court date arrived. Anna walked into the courtroom dressed like she was going to a fashion show, trying to impress the judge. Michael walked behind her, head down, avoiding my eyes. When it was my turn to speak, I told the judge everything. How they sold their house, wasted nearly $1 million, tried to force themselves into my home, and how Anna assaulted me when I refused. I kept my voice steady, but every word carried the weight of my disappointment. The judge listened carefully. Then, to everyone's surprise, he turned to Michael and asked, "Is this true? Did your wife strike your father?" Michael hesitated, his face pale. Anna glared at him, her eyes full of warning. For a moment, I thought he would lie. But then he whispered, "Yes, it's true." Anna's jaw dropped. She spun around furious, but the damage was done. The courtroom went silent. For the first time, it wasn't just my word against hers. My son had spoken the truth. At that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope.
Maybe Michael was finally starting to see the woman he had married for who she really was. But I also knew this was far from over. Anna wasn't the type to give up easily.
After the court hearing, I thought Anna might calm down. But I was wrong. If anything, her anger grew stronger. A few days later, I received a letter in the mail. Anna had filed a complaint against me, claiming I was abusive, controlling, and that I refused to support my son's family. It was a complete lie. I sat at my kitchen table, holding the papers, my hands trembling. I had spent my entire life providing for Michael, raising him with love and discipline, teaching him right from wrong. And now his wife was trying to paint me as some kind of monster. I called my lawyer immediately. He sighed and said, "Robert, this is a common tactic. She's trying to turn the tables on you. Don't worry, we'll fight this." Meanwhile, Michael stopped answering my calls. It broke my heart. I knew he was torn between loyalty to his wife and the truth he had admitted in court. I kept hoping he'd come to his senses, but the silence from him was heavier than any words. Then, one evening, I got an unexpected knock at the door. It was Anna, standing there with fake tears running down her face. "Robert," she said in a trembling voice, "I'm sorry about everything. I lost my temper. Can we just forget this whole court thing? We're family after all." For a moment, I almost believed her. But then I remembered the lies she had written about me in her complaint, her words in court, her slap across my face. I knew this was just another trick. "Anna, you don't get to play victim after everything you've done. You hurt me, you lied about me, and you tried to take what isn't yours. I won't forget that." Her tears instantly disappeared, replaced with pure rage. "Fine, you'll regret this, old man. You'll die alone in this house." And with that, she stormed off. That night, I sat in my living room staring at the walls I had built with my own hands decades ago. The house had once been a symbol of love and security. Now it felt like a fortress under siege. But I made a decision. If Anna wanted a war, I wasn't going to back down. I would protect my home, my dignity, and my future, no matter how ugly this fight became.
The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of my life. Anna wasn't done with me. She started spreading rumors in the neighborhood, telling people I had kicked my own son and grandchildren out of the house, that I was greedy and heartless. At the grocery store, I overheard whispers. At church, I noticed people giving me strange looks. It hurt, but I knew the truth, and the truth would eventually win. My lawyer advised me to document everything. Every phone call, every visit, every threat. I bought a small notebook and started writing it all down. I even installed cameras around my property, just in case. Then, one evening, something happened that confirmed all my fears. I woke up to the sound of banging on my front door. When I opened it, there was Anna, furious and wild-eyed, yelling at me to let her and Michael move in. She pushed against the door so hard, I thought it would break. I called the police. By the time they arrived, Anna was screaming at the top of her lungs, accusing me of locking my own family out in the cold. The officers asked me a few questions, but once they saw the camera footage, they realized who the real aggressor was. They warned Anna to stay away or face arrest. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Not fake tears, not anger, but fear. She knew her lies were starting to collapse. But the cost of all this was heavy. Michael still hadn't come to see me. He was standing by her side even when the evidence was clear. That broke me more than anything else. I still loved my son. I still loved my grandkids, but I couldn't let them destroy me. That night, I sat with my lawyer and made a tough choice. I filed for a permanent restraining order against Anna. It meant I wouldn't see her again, and maybe not even Michael for a long time. But it also meant peace. The battle was far from over, but I was finally taking back control of my life.
The day of the final court hearing arrived. I walked into the courthouse with my lawyer by my side. my heart heavy but determined. Across the room sat Anna, her arms crossed, glaring at me with the same hatred as always. Michael sat next to her, but I noticed something different this time. He wouldn't look me in the eye. When the judge entered, the room went silent. One by one, the lawyers presented their evidence. My lawyer showed the camera footage, the police reports, the records of Anna's harassment, and even the lies she had filed in her complaint. Piece by piece, the truth came out. Anna tried to defend herself, crying and saying I was a cruel old man who abandoned his family, but her words sounded hollow compared to the mountain of evidence against her. Then came the moment that changed everything. The judge turned to Michael and asked, "Mr. Miller, do you believe your father has treated you unfairly? Has he ever abused you or your children?" The courtroom went still. Michael's face turned pale. Anna grabbed his arm tightly, whispering something under her breath. But then, slowly, Michael shook his head. "No, Your Honor. My father has never hurt me. He's only tried to help us. Anna, she made me believe things that weren't true." Anna's eyes widened in shock. She pulled away from Michael, furious. But it was too late. The truth had finally been spoken. The judge declared that Anna's complaint was dismissed, and the restraining order would remain in place permanently. Anna was ordered to stay away from me, my home, and even stop contacting me altogether. As we left the courthouse, Michael followed me outside. His voice cracked as he said, "Dad, I'm sorry. I should have stood by you sooner. I was blind. I don't know if you can ever forgive me." I looked at him for a long moment. My heart ached. Part of me wanted to shut him out forever, but another part remembered the little boy I raised, the son I once held in my arms. "I don't know if things will ever be the same, Michael, but if you truly want to make things right, start by being a good father to your children. They need you more than Anna needs your loyalty." Michael nodded, tears in his eyes. Anna stormed off alone, screaming into her phone. For the first time in months, I felt a sense of peace. I had protected my home, I had protected my dignity, and maybe, just maybe, I had saved my son from a woman who nearly destroyed us all.
For a short time after the court's decision, life felt almost normal again. I could drink my morning coffee in peace, sit on my porch, and watch the sunrise without worrying about Anna showing up at my door. The restraining order gave me the space I desperately needed. But deep down, I knew Anna wasn't the type of woman to give up so easily. And I was right. One evening, I received a call from a neighbor. "Robert," she whispered nervously, "I saw Anna's car parked down the street. She's been sitting there for over an hour, just watching your house." My chest tightened. Even with the court order, Anna was circling like a predator waiting for her chance. I immediately called the police, and when they came, Anna was gone. No arrest, no confrontation, just shadows of her presence reminding me she was still out there. Meanwhile, Michael started visiting me again, but always alone. He looked thinner, tired, like a man carrying a mountain on his shoulders. "Dad," he said one afternoon, "Anna's angry. She says I've turned you against her. She says if I don't cut ties with you, she'll take the kids and leave." My heart ached for him. He was trapped in a cage built by his own choices. "Son," I said softly, "if a woman threatens to take your children just because you want to see your father, is that love? Or is that control?" Michael didn't answer. His eyes welled up, and I knew he was torn apart inside. The weeks passed, and the tension grew heavier. Then one night, I woke up to the sound of shattering glass. My heart pounded as I grabbed the flashlight and rushed downstairs. The back window was broken. Shards of glass glittered on the kitchen floor, and on the table lay a single piece of paper with a message scribbled in red ink. "This isn't over." I stood frozen, the note shaking in my hand. It wasn't signed, but I didn't need a signature. I knew exactly who had left it. Anna. She was back, and this time, she was playing a far more dangerous game. After finding that note, I barely slept.
Every sound outside felt like footsteps. Every shadow on the wall felt like a threat. I kept the lights on in the house all night, something I hadn't done since I was a young father protecting Michael from childhood fears. But now it was me who was living in fear. Fear of my own daughter-in-law. The next morning, I took the note and the photos of the broken window straight to the police. They filed another report and promised to investigate, but I could see it in their eyes. Unless they caught Anna in the act, there wasn't much they could do. Days passed. Michael came by less and less. When he did, he looked like a ghost of himself. "Dad," he whispered once, "Anna says she won't stop until she owns this house. She keeps saying it's rightfully ours." The words cut through me like a knife. This house, I had built it with my own hands, brick by brick, board by board. It was my life's work, and now she wanted to steal it, just like she stole the money Michael gave her. I decided to take extra measures. I hired a security company to install stronger locks, reinforced windows, and cameras inside the house. I even bought a safe to keep my most important documents secure. I hated living like a prisoner in my own home, but I had no choice. Then, one late evening, I returned home from the grocery store and saw something chilling. On my front porch sat one of my granddaughter's toys, a small stuffed bear she always carried. I froze. Michael hadn't been by in weeks. There was no way that toy got there by accident. I picked it up and found another note pinned to its back. "The kids miss their grandpa. Why are you keeping us apart?" My hands trembled. This wasn't just intimidation anymore. Anna was using the children as pawns in her twisted game. I realized then that this battle wasn't only about my house or my pride. It was about protecting my family from a woman who would stop at nothing to get what she wanted. And I knew the worst was still to come.
A few days after I found that stuffed bear, Michael finally came to visit again. He looked exhausted, his eyes bloodshot, like he hadn't slept in days. "Dad," he said quietly, "Anna's talking about taking the kids and disappearing. She says if you don't sign the house over to us, she'll leave with them and I'll never see my children again." My stomach dropped. For years, I had built my life around family, and now my son's family was being used as a weapon against me. "Michael," I said firmly, "listen to me. If Anna is threatening to take your kids away, she's not protecting them, she's controlling you. You need to wake up, for their sake." Michael buried his face in his hands. "I know, Dad. I just don't know how to stop her." 2 days later, I found out just how far Anna was willing to go. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It was a photo. My 2 grandchildren sitting in the backseat of a car, looking confused. Underneath, the message read, "Sign the house over, or you'll never see them again." My blood ran cold. I immediately called Michael, and when he answered, his voice was shaking. "Dad, I didn't know she would do this. She took the kids and left. I don't even know where she went." For the first time, I felt true panic. This wasn't just about money anymore. Anna was playing with innocent lives. I called the police and showed them the message. They opened an investigation, but they told me the truth. Unless Anna actually harmed the children, the situation would take time to resolve. Time I didn't have. That night, I sat in my living room, staring at the phone, waiting for another message. My heart was heavy with fear, not for myself, but for the children. I thought of their laughter, their small hands in mine, and the way they used to call me Grandpa with joy in their voices. I realized then that I wasn't just fighting for my house anymore. I was fighting for my grandchildren's future. And if Anna wanted war, I was ready to give her one. The photo of my grandchildren haunted me. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every moment I imagined them scared, trapped with Anna, used as bargaining chips in her cruel game. 3 days passed without another message. Then, finally, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a video.
In the clip, Anna sat in the driver's seat of her car, her face full of smug satisfaction. The kids were in the back, looking tired and restless. "Robert," she said coldly, "this is your last chance. You can walk into a lawyer's office tomorrow and sign that house over to us. If you don't, I'll make sure these kids never step foot in your life again. Think carefully, old man. You've got 48 hours." My hand shook with anger. I wanted to scream, but I knew losing control would solve nothing. Instead, I sent the video straight to my lawyer and the police. That night, Michael came to see me again, more broken than ever. "Dad, I tried to talk to her, but she won't listen. She says the house is the only way to secure our future. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm losing my kids. I'm losing myself." I put my hand on his shoulder. "Michael, you have to make a choice. Not for me, not even for yourself. For those children. Do you want them growing up learning that lies, greed, and threats are how life works, or do you want them to know the truth?" Tears streamed down his face. He didn't answer, but I could see the war raging inside him. The next morning, I woke up to find a police car parked outside my home. An officer came to my door and said, "Mr. Miller, we may have a lead on your grandchildren. We need you to come with us." Hope and fear surged through me all at once. Maybe, just maybe, the nightmare was about to end. But I also knew Anna wouldn't go down without a fight. This was no longer just a family dispute. It was a battle for survival.
The police drove me across town to a small motel on the outskirts of the city. My heart pounded the whole way. I kept praying silently, "Please let the kids be safe. Please let them be okay." When we arrived, 2 officers were already standing outside one of the rooms. They nodded at me and then slowly opened the door. Inside, the scene nearly brought me to my knees. My 2 grandchildren were sitting on the bed, clutching each other, their faces pale and tired. And there, pacing back and forth like a caged animal, was Anna. The moment she saw the police, she exploded. "You can't take them! They're mine! That old man doesn't deserve them! He doesn't deserve anything!" The officers moved quickly, pulling the children to safety. One of them rushed into my arms, crying, "Grandpa!" I held them tight, tears streaming down my face. I whispered over and over, "You're safe now. Grandpa's here." Anna screamed, fighting against the officers, but it was useless. They handcuffed her and dragged her out of the room as she cursed my name. For the first time, she wasn't in control anymore. Later, at the station, the police told me Anna would be facing multiple charges: kidnapping, harassment, and violation of a restraining order. It was finally over. Michael arrived soon after. When he saw his children safe, he collapsed into tears. He hugged me, sobbing, "Dad, I almost lost them. I almost lost everything because of her." I put my arm around him. "What matters is that you've got them back now. But son, this is your second chance. Don't waste it." That night, back at my home, I sat on the porch with my grandchildren asleep inside. For the first time in months, I felt peace settle over me. Anna was gone. The house was safe, and maybe, just maybe, my family could begin to heal. But in my heart, I knew one thing for certain. Trust, once broken, takes a long time to rebuild.
Life after Anna's arrest was quieter, but it was far from simple. Michael started visiting more regularly, but there was an invisible tension in the air. He still carried guilt for not standing up sooner, and I could see the weight of Anna's manipulation pressing on him. One afternoon, Michael came to my porch, holding his children's hands tightly. "Dad," he said softly, "I don't want them to grow up fearing women, fearing conflict. I want them to feel safe, to know that honesty matters." I nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and sadness. This was the man I had raised. The boy who once clung to my neck after a scraped knee, now learning the hardest lessons of adulthood. We spent the day together, laughing with the kids, playing board games and telling stories from when Michael was little. Their laughter echoed through the house, chasing away shadows of the past. For a moment, I allowed myself to imagine that life could return to normal. But deep down, I knew that Anna's presence, or even the memory of her, would always linger. Michael still had difficult conversations ahead. He had to rebuild boundaries, not only with his children, but with himself. That evening, I sat on my porch watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. The house felt alive again, filled with hope and small joys. I reflected on the battles we had fought, the lawsuits, the threats, the lies. All of it had been exhausting, but necessary. I realized something important. Life doesn't always protect you from people who want to take advantage. Sometimes you have to protect yourself and your family first. And sometimes that means standing firm, even when it hurts the ones you love most. As night fell, I heard the soft footsteps of my grandchildren running toward me, their small voices calling, "Grandpa, come play." And for the first time in months, I felt a sense of victory. Not from winning in court, but from reclaiming my home, my dignity, and a fragile but growing trust in my son. Yet, I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Healing takes time. Trust once broken must be rebuilt, brick by brick, just like a house. And I was ready to start laying those bricks, one day at a time.
The weeks turned into months, and slowly, life at home began to feel normal again. Michael was learning to stand firm, setting boundaries with Anna, and rebuilding a relationship with his children free from fear. He started spending more time at the house, helping me with small repairs, laughing with the kids, and sharing memories we all thought were lost. One afternoon, while the grandchildren were playing in the yard, Michael sat beside me on the porch. "Dad," he said quietly, "I've realized something important. I almost let someone destroy everything we have, including each other. I was blind. I don't want to ever feel that way again." I placed my hand on his shoulder, feeling the weight of years of love and mistakes. "Son, we all make mistakes. The important thing is what we do after. You have a chance now to protect your kids, to be honest with yourself, and to rebuild trust." The children ran up, tugging at our hands, laughing. I watched them, feeling a mix of relief and hope. This house, once a battlefield, was slowly becoming a home again, a place of warmth, laughter, and love. That evening, as I sat on the porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, I reflected on everything that had happened. The betrayal, the threats, the fear. It had all tested me, pushed me to my limits. But through it all, I had learned something vital. Strength isn't just in defending yourself, it's in protecting those you love, even when it means standing alone. I knew Anna was out there somewhere, but her power over us had ended. We had reclaimed our lives, our dignity, and our peace. And perhaps most importantly, Michael had begun to see clearly, ready to guide his children with love instead of fear, honesty instead of deception. For the first time in a long while, I allowed myself to smile genuinely. The battles were not over. Life would always bring challenges, but the foundation of family, love, and trust had been rebuilt. And like the house I had spent my life constructing, this family could stand strong again, brick by brick, heart by heart. The road ahead would be long, and healing would take patience. But for the first time in years, I truly believed we could survive, together.
Even after reclaiming the house, the tension never fully disappeared. Michael was learning to navigate his own marriage and protect his children, but the shadow of Anna still loomed over all of us. Every creak of the floorboards, every unexpected knock on the door, reminded me that vigilance was necessary. One afternoon, Michael came in, looking worn and anxious. "Dad," he whispered, "Anna called again. She's threatening to take the kids if I don't comply. I don't know what to do." I looked him in the eyes. "Michael, listen carefully. Protecting your children means standing firm. Fear cannot guide you, nor can threats. You must be strong for them, even when it's hard." We spent hours talking, planning, making sure every possible scenario was covered. I showed him how to document threats, how to keep the children safe, and how to report every attempted intimidation. It wasn't easy. Michael's guilt weighed heavily on him. But slowly I could see determination building in his eyes, the spark of a father who refused to be manipulated. That evening, as the kids played in the yard, I felt a strange mix of relief and anxiety. Relief that they were safe for now, anxiety because I knew Anna would not give up easily. She was relentless, cunning, and willing to use anyone and anything to get what she wanted. I reminded myself of one simple truth. The house, the family, the love we shared, none of that could be destroyed if we stayed united. Michael, my grandchildren, and I, we were stronger than fear, stronger than manipulation. Night fell, and I sat on the porch alone, thinking about the journey we had endured. From betrayal and threats to court battles and stolen moments, I realized how fragile life could be. But I also realized the power of standing your ground, the strength of truth, and the resilience of family. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Anna's next move was unknown. But one thing was certain, I would be ready. Not just for the house, not just for myself, but for the family I loved more than anything in this world.
The days that followed were tense, but finally a sense of clarity began to settle over our home. Michael had grown stronger, standing firm for his children, setting boundaries that Anna could no longer cross. The kids laughed again, playing freely in the yard, their joy echoing through the house, reminding me of why I had fought so hard. One morning, a police officer arrived at my door with news. Anna had been located and was facing new charges for attempting to manipulate and intimidate her family. The authorities assured us that she would no longer be able to harass or threaten us. For the first time in months, I felt a deep, unshakable relief. Michael walked beside me onto the porch that evening. "Dad," he said, his voice steady, "I understand now. I almost let fear and loyalty to the wrong person destroy everything we have. I'm sorry for doubting you, and for letting her control me for so long." I placed a hand on his shoulder, feeling the warmth of forgiveness and love. "Son, what matters is that you've learned the truth. Now focus on your children. Protect them, guide them, and never let fear make your decisions for you." The grandchildren ran past, laughing and calling our names. I watched them, their small hands holding tightly to the safety and love we had rebuilt. This house, which had once felt like a fortress under siege, was now a home again, filled with laughter, trust, and peace. As night fell, I sat on the porch alone, looking at the stars. The battles, the fear, the heartbreak, it had all tested me in ways I never imagined. But standing firm, protecting my family, and holding on to truth had won in the end. I realized that life would always have challenges, that people could betray and manipulate, but love, resilience, and the courage to defend what is right would always endure. Michael, my grandchildren, and I had survived the storm, and now, finally, we could begin to heal. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past lift slightly from my shoulders. The house was ours again. Our family was safe. And for the first time in a long while, I allowed myself to imagine a future full of hope, laughter, and quiet mornings, where peace was no longer just a dream, but a reality we had fought to protect. This was more than a victory. It was a new beginning, and I knew that together we could face whatever came next.